أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for sparing your Saturday evening. I'm just worried that my voice is so loud. And we are inshallah going to talk about ideal family today in a, alhamdulillah, very family intimate gathering. I would like to begin by reminding you of the verse of the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Amongst his signs is that he's created a mate from amongst yourselves so that you might find rest with them. There are signs for those who reflect. And Allah can bestow his love and mercy, and there are signs for those who reflect. This verse, in my view, forms the foundation for creating Muslim families. This verse outlines the origin of man and woman, outlines the purpose of creating a family, outlines the key ingredients that are needed for a family to be sustained, and how to continue a family in a healthy and a positive environment is also defined in this particular verse. Very short verse, but it contains a huge amount of lessons and meanings for us all to learn from. So let me begin by reminding you what the verse actually talks about. Allah says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, amongst his signs, and خَلَقَ لَكُمْ, he has created from amongst yourselves, مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا, a partner. Now Allah is saying that he has created for all of us a partner from amongst ourselves. This is a very significant foundation for an Islamic marriage, Islamic family, Islamic relationship. The foundation is that any family that we have, a husband and wife, must recognize that they come from the same root, same origin. Allah is their creator. And they've been created and they've been given a mate from amongst themselves. In other words, we're only entitled to get married to another human being. We can't get married to a different species. We can only marry our own species. So Allah is saying He's created a mate from amongst yourselves, your own species. But not only your own species, but as a human being, their wants and desires, their needs and aspirations will be like yours. You want happiness, they want happiness. You want comfort, they want comfort. You want peace, they want peace. You want intimacy, they want intimacy. You want love, they want love. So it's not just one way, it's both. Recognizing that we all come from the same root, the same creation of Allah, and our partners coming from our own species enables us to understand that relationship and start forming that foundation. There are many other verses of the Quran that talks about families in Islam. There is another particular one that I like when Allah says, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمُ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. O humanity, be conscious of your Lord who has created you from nafsun wahida, from one soul. وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا, and from this one soul, one beginning, he has created its mate. وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً, and he spread on this earth multitude of man and woman from this beginning. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَيْكُمْ رَقِيبًا. And be mindful of Allah when you're demanding your mutual rights, and be mindful of your relatives, especially those who are close to you, your blood relatives. إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ, and Allah is aware of those things. Allah is aware of everything. So I want us to know that the first and the foremost foundation of an Islamic family, Muslim family, begins with the realization that we come from the same root, same origin, and realization that our partner, male, female, husband, wife, is of the same species and therefore have the same needs and aspirations as we have. And the third element that we learn from this particular point, the first point, is that we are equal in the eyes of Allah because we are human. Equal in the eyes of Allah. So men are not superior and women are not inferior. Some brothers have misunderstanding of this particular verse. They often quote to me, Allah says, الرجال قوامون على النساء, so therefore men must be better than women. No. الرجال قوامون على النساء doesn't mean men are better than women. Men are responsible over the woman, is what Allah is saying. Qawama is responsibility, should make you humble, should give us the reasons to become humble about our responsibility rather than become arrogant about it. So when some brothers claim that they are superior, they're better, they become arrogant. And this verse is not about arrogance. This verse is saying financially, when we get married, when we have a wife, as a man, we have a responsibility to provide for our wife, for our children. Especially during the period when they are the full-time mothers of our children, while they're pregnant and taking care of an upcoming baby. At that time, they need all the support that we can provide. And since we can't carry babies in our stomach, since we are not the mothers, since we don't have a womb, the least we can do is provide for them financial security without them having to ever worry about it. That should make us more humble rather than arrogant. الرجال قوامون على النساء must be understood in the right way than in the male chauvinistic way, as I have heard from many people. So the first principle of Islamic marriage, Islamic family, is that we create a space in which a man and woman come together and they realize that they come from the same root, same origin. They accept one another as equal in the eyes of Allah, and they also recognize that their partner has similar needs and wants as they have. This is what we mean when Allah says that He has created a mate from amongst ourselves. So that's the first part. Second part, He says, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you can live with them. Some people translate لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا as living with them in tranquility. I don't like that translation because I don't think that is correct and the holistic translation of the Arabic word. If I ask an Arab in this room in front of me, أَيْنَ تَسْكُنُوا, you would talk about your home, where you come from. You would say, I live in Askunu, whatever, in Bath or Trowbridge. Well, as soon as somebody says, Aina taskunu, where do you live? The Arabic word taskunu, sakina, means to you, where do you live? Where do you feel comfortable? Where do you feel secure? Where do you feel safe? Where do you feel at home? That's what sakina means to you. And Allah is saying, litaskunu ilayha, so that you can live with your partner in home, in comfort, in safety, in security, in that kind of an environment. So the purpose of marriage, purpose of family environment, purpose of creating a family, my brothers and sisters, is so that we can live with our partner in sakina, in safe environment. A safe environment where we can grow. A safe environment where they can grow. We can grow physically, we can grow spiritually, and most importantly, we can grow emotionally. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Now I want you to really concentrate on the concept of sakina. Safe space is what I call. My translation is so that you can create a safe space with them. What is a safe space? Safe space is where you can be there without being judged, without being prejudiced, without being looked down upon, without being abused, without being attacked, without being verbally assaulted, physically assaulted, without being derided, denied your rights. A space that is totally free and safe. That's what sakina means. So when we create a home, a man and a woman begin their homely journey by creating that safe space. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. You live with your partner in that safe space. In that space, you can become more pious if you want to. You can devote more of your time in worship during the day and at night, but not denying the rights of your wife. Remember that story when one of the attendants of, one of the assistants of Abdullah ibn Umar was always praying and always fasting and always and had promised not to get married. Rasulullah went and told that person off, saying, I am the Prophet of Allah, I get married, I have family, I've got wife, I've got children, I pray and I sleep and I break my fast. Your body has a right over you. Your family have a right over you. And even your neighbors have a right over you, my brothers and sisters. This balance that we need to create in making that safe space is so important to having an ideal family environment. So create that safe space for your spiritual growth. So you wake up for Fajr, you go to pray, you can pray together or you can pray separate. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray in tahajjud prayer. He didn't disturb his wife. He would not wake up his wives all the time. If they wanted to wake up, they could. But he would pray. Sometimes Aisha would join him in prayers. Sometimes she wouldn't join him in prayers. In fact, in his house, it was so small a house that Aisha said when Rasulullah would go to Sajda, he would have literally had to touch my legs and move them so that he could do his Sajda. That's how small his room was in order to pray. Aisha also reports that when I would pray with Rasulullah in tahajjud prayer, sometimes he would recite whole of Surah Al-Baqarah in one verse, one rak'ah. He will stand in one rak'ah for so long, then when he goes to ruku', he will stay in ruku' for as long as he was reciting Surah Al-Baqarah. And then he would go to sajda, and he would stay in sajda for as long as he did his ruku'. By the time he would finish his first rak'ah, my legs would be swollen. My face would be swollen. I would have to sit down to take rest. But Prophet of Allah would continue praying. Now this is something that you need to understand, that safe space means if you want to pray, you can. Without prejudice. Without any worry and anxiety. That safe space means you can spiritually grow. You can read the Quran, you can reflect, you can do anything that is spiritually you find acceptable and within the bounds of Islam. Physically you can grow. You can do exercise together if you want to. If you want to become fat, of course it's your choice, but I'd prefer that we don't become fat together, we become fit together as a husband and a wife. Fatness has got other side effects. If you want to play sports, you can. Rasulullah used to play sport with Aisha. As you know, he would race when Aisha was young, and later on when he would race and Aisha was older. In the beginning Aisha would beat Rasulullah, but later on Aisha couldn't because she had put on some weight in life. You can. This is acceptable, but that physical space in which you live, you can grow physically and spiritually. And don't forget, you grow emotionally. Emotional connection is the most important connection in a marital relationship. Believe it or not, you don't connect with any other human being emotionally as much as you do when you are creating a home, an ideal home, your family, your wife, your husband. You grow with no other human being than your husband. Your husband is not your blood. Your wife is not your blood. You've found somebody, you've met somebody, you've been introduced to somebody, and you come together, and yet you become so emotionally connected, interconnected, interdependent. Your children are different. Your children have no choice. They are blood connection. You have no choice for your children, but with your wife and husband you have, and yet you become so connected. That emotional connection is very important. And in creating that safe space, my brothers and sisters, we also need to recognize what is emotion. Do you know what your emotion is? Do you know when you feel happy? Do you know when you feel angry? Do you know where your anger comes from when you're angry? Do you know how to control it? Do you know how to recognize other people's emotions? When your wife says to you, I love you, do you know how to deal with it? When you say to your wife, I love you, does your wife know how to deal with it? Do you know how to deal with your emotions? So do you recognize your emotion? Do you know how to name your emotion? Do you recognize other people's emotion? And do you know how to manage emotions? When you get angry, what do? Hit the roof, break things, scream and shout, slam the door, break dishes? Well, that's a very crazy person whose emotional intelligence is zero. A person who is emotionally intelligent would not do any of that, would be in control of their emotion. And that emotional growth happens together. You may have started with all types of emotions going in every direction, but as you grow together, your emotion stabilizes. You help one another to grow, find harmony with one another. So in لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, in that particular point, Allah wants you and I to create a safe space in which we can grow emotionally, we can grow physically and spiritually. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ, so that He can put between the two of you. جَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Most Muslims don't understand the concept of mawadda and rahmah in the way Allah is describing in this verse. What does mawadda mean and what does rahmah mean? Mawadda is not just the platonic love, the superficial love that we're familiar with. The Arabic word for love is hubb. But that's not love in the holistic sense. It's not love from the inner core of being. is not love from within. It's just the love outside. The external love is known as hubb. But Allah's love is not external love. Allah's love is a holistic love. And Allah's name is Al-Wadud. And one of Al-Wadud, He is the eternal loving and source of all love. He says, I want to put وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ between the two of them مَوَدَّةً, the wadud, that His essence, part of His essence called love in the couple. If Allah puts love from His own essence in the hearts of two people, who can take that love away? No one. But you have to create the safe space to be able to receive the love. If the space is not safe, you will not receive love. If you're not emotionally ready, you will not receive the love. If you're not physically ready, you will not receive the love. If you're constantly bickering and arguing and don't understand one another, you will not receive the love, or you will not enjoy the love. So to be recipient of the love from Allah, mawaddatan from Allah, you must first create the safe space that I talked about. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, creating the sakina. Some people complain, oh brother, I don't enjoy love in my relationship. What's going on? And then when I examine their relationship, I find out that there is no sakina. There is no safety. There is no safe space. They are constantly on each other's throat. They're always walking on eggshell around one another. They don't know how to relate. They're constantly bickering. They're fighting, arguing over the smallest issue. It's point scoring. It's tit for tat. It's arguments after arguments. They don't know how to manage their anger. It's all over the place. Why would they enjoy love? Love cannot be enjoyed in a volatile space. So if you want to receive mawadda, the root of love from Allah, the essence of our love from Allah, we must create that safe space. And once we have created the safe space, and Allah has given love, love is not enough to keep a marriage going. Many people say, I've fallen in love. I'm sorry to say, love is not enough to keep a marriage going. Love is something that can't even be defined in human terms. What is love? Some people think love is noun. It's just an entity, will come to you when you're ready. No, that's not true. Some people think love is action. I feed you, I cook for you, I iron, I do things for you. That's love. That's maybe act of love. But what is love? You know what? You will never know what is love. Love cannot be defined by human. But it is enough to know that love on its own is not enough to keep a marriage or a relationship going. What you need is a huge dose of mawaddatan rahmah. You need a huge dose of mercy and compassion. So if you were to imagine two sides of the same coin, one side would be love, the other side would be rahmah, compassion. In fact, I say something even more than that. I say, if you imagine an envelope, inside the envelope is love, the entire envelope is compassion. If you want to hold on to love, you must have an enveloping, compassionate relationship, a relationship of mercy, continuous mercy. If my wife wasn't merciful to me, my wife would have run away from me a long time ago. I can tell you that now. I drive her up the wall. I do things that makes her absolutely go mad. For example, this weekend. In one weekend, I'm doing 3 talks in 3 cities, and then I'm going to go back home. By the time I get back home, it's going to be 12 o'clock. She would say, I'm completely mad. Why am I doing this? Why don't I do 1 talk at a time and then get back home and relax? My rhythm is very different than hers. But she has to learn to live with that, accept me for who I am, know that I have this hyper energy within myself. I'm quite happy to do this, no problem. It doesn't affect her. It doesn't affect my relationship with her at all. Accepting this with mercy rather than with resentment. Accepting this with mercy than resentment. Brothers, you need to accept your wife for who she is. Accepting her with mercy and compassion. Rasulullah said to Aisha, Aisha, I know when you are angry with me, and I know when you are when you're not angry with me. Aisha said, oh Prophet of Allah, how do you know? Prophet ﷺ said, when you are angry with me, you say, I swear in the name of Lord of Ibrahim. And when you are happy with me, you say, I swear in the name of Lord of Muhammad. Here is an interplay between Aisha and the Prophet of Allah, a play of compassion. Two people who love one another for the sake of Allah, love one another for the sake of what Allah has given them, but their interplay is very beautiful, isn't it? They both know one another well enough to create that compassionate and loving relationship. Aisha had a very volatile temperament. I don't know whether you know. She used to get angry very quickly. She was young, very impressionable as we know, and she had this thing about flaring up very quickly. She had also jealousy with other wives of the Prophet. She used to do all sorts of things. Rasulullah dealt with them and with her very, very compassionately and mercifully. One day, Aisha was very bad in her behavior. And Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha, Aisha, you need to take control of your jinn. Why, O Prophet of Allah? Aisha said. He said, all of us have a jinn. You have a jinn. You need to take control of your jinn. So Aisha was very angry. She said, oh Prophet, did you say all of us have a jinn? He said, yes. He goes, so you have a jinn too then? Can you see how a man and a woman, they're having an argument? You said, I have a jinn, you have a jinn too. That kind of a response. Prophet ﷺ said, yes. Oh Aisha, I have a jinn too, but my jinn has become Muslim and yours hasn't. The way he diffused the entire conversation, the way he channeled a compassionate response rather than an angry response. How dare you speak to me like this? I'm the Prophet of God. Do you mind? Have some respect, lady. Do you not know I work so hard for the sake of Allah? He could have said all these things, but he didn't. Some of us would do to our wives, of course. But the response we should be giving is a compassionate one. One that comes with rahmah that is from Allah. Now let me take you one step further. The Arabic word rahmah originates from raham. Raham means mother's womb. Allah wants us to demonstrate the same attributes as you would find in a mother's womb when we are dealing with our partner. Can you just imagine? A mother's womb gives protection to a baby without condition. Mother's womb gives protection to the baby with mercy, with love, with food, with sustenance, with warmth, perfectly sterile environment with no impurity. Allah wants you to recognize the essence of rahmah originates from His name, and His name is Ar-Rahman, and He has chosen and given a mother's womb the same name, Rahm. And if you want to create a loving relationship, an ideal home in which love is enveloped by a massive cushion of rahmah, you need to understand what is rahmah, what is compassion. Compassion has no limit. Mercy has no limit. Somebody sent me a joke a couple of days ago. It's a very nice joke. A boy said to the father, Dad, I'm ready to get married. The father said, say sorry first. The boy said, why? Father said, say sorry first. The boy said, but why? Father said, say sorry first. The boy said, Dad, can you please tell me why? What have I done? What's my fault? He said, say sorry first. The father said, no. The boy said, but you have to tell me a reason. The father says, say sorry first. The boy is getting a bit annoyed. So then he said, okay then, I'm sorry. Father then says, you are now ready to get married. First training, you have successfully overcome. When you can say sorry to your partner without reason, you have started your journey of marriage. And I tell you, brothers and sisters, I've been married for a long time. Sorry is the hardest thing you can ever say to your partner, meaningfully and truthfully. It's part of rahmah, it's part of compassion that we should be able to say sorry to our partner, because we believe rahmah encompasses love. And if we are not willing to consider all aspects of rahmah, saying sorry, being kind, being generous, being there for them, spending time with them, cooking, cleaning, doing things that they love, even maybe giving them a back scratch, so that's if that's what they like, giving them, touching their hands if they like, giving them a hug if they like. What kind of rahmah are you exercising? If I like somebody to scratch my back and you start scratching my feet, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be in love with you for long, or at least my love will be affected in that way, saying, hang on a second, I like my back to be scratched. Why are you irritating me by scratching my feet? Allah's Prophet ﷺ wants you to recognize through his example that you do something for your partner that they like. So this is called rahmah. And then he says in the Quran, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And there are signs for those who reflect. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ, in it, there are signs for those who reflect. Now many brothers and sisters come to me and say to me, brother, we're bored of our marriage. Really bored of our marriage. What do we do? Shall we just leave and start again? I tell them, you are mistaken. You can never be bored of your marriage if you reflect. Actually, the Arabic word لِقَوْمِ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ should be translated for people who are prepared to evaluate their marriage. It's called continuous evaluation, through reflection, of course, as a means. What's an evaluation? How am I doing in my marriage? How am I behaving? Am I doing the things in the right way? Do you like what I'm doing? Would you like me to change? Continuously evaluating your marriage and your family relationship. If you're not prepared to create a space where you are reflective and evaluating, your relationship is over. You'll get bored very quickly. It's not bored, it's resentment. It's not resentment, it's built up anger and frustration. So if you want to create a safe space, you need to work on it by doing all of those. And my brothers and sisters, it has a bigger manifestation, not just on the husband and a wife relationship. If your space is not safe, your children will not be growing up in a healthy environment. If there is no love and mercy between the husband and the wife, the children will feel the tension. If husband and a wife are not continuously evaluating their relationship, children will not grow up in a healthy environment, knowing reflection, knowing how to change things. If the children don't see husband, their parents, and their parents not constantly talking to one another, communicating well, resolving their conflict effectively and maturely like adults, children will not learn how to do it themselves. If your children witness you in a dysfunctional way in your emotion, if they notice you are dysfunctional when it comes to expressing your love for your wife or your husband, if they see you're dysfunctional when it comes to negotiating and resolving your conflict, it's very likely that your children will grow up being dysfunctional themselves in their future relationship. So safe space, mawadda and rahmah, and reflective environment is not only essential for the couple's survival, but it's also essential for their children's survival, because they don't get, or we as couples don't impart to our children sufficient skills and knowledge to be able to cope with this new challenge in life called relationship. Statistically speaking, it is proven that a quarreling husband and a wife's relationship, the children will inherit the same and they will do the same. If they see their father slamming the door, mother breaking the plates, and anger, is very much likely they will do the same. If they see their parents fighting with one another physically in abusive relationship, it's very likely that they would become abusive themselves. If they see that their families are behaving in a way that is un-Islamic, it is very likely that they will continue behaving in the same way, not knowing that what they're doing is un-Islamic. So creating that safe space also guarantees you and enables your future children to be healthy, strong and stable in their relationship. And young children, what they need is a stable home and the presence of both parents. They need both parents, not just one. It's not just the mother who's doing everything and the father is hardly there. No. Children miss their fathers often, and those children who have been brought up without regular input from their father become less intelligent, both in the conventional intellectual sense as well as emotional intelligence. So you need to create a safe space in which both parties are involved and children grow up healthy and knowing that that is the natural family environment. So my suggestion to you in creating an ideal family environment is, if you have children right now, start conversations with them. Start that healthy dialogue. Create a template on which you can all work. Renegotiate your relationship. Put down ground rules that works for everybody. Agree to them and implement them. Have boundaries that everyone respects. You teach and you preach and you practice. You just don't preach and teach and don't practice. Father smokes and he tells his children not to smoke. Doesn't pray, sends his son to the mosque to pray. Doesn't read the Quran ever, forces his son to memorize the Quran. I'm afraid it's not going to happen. A family environment is where all of these consistent principles that Allah has laid down is practiced and preached, not just preached. And I want to finish here by saying that in the eyes of Allah, man and woman are partners. Hunna libasul lakum wa antum libasul lahunna. They're your garment and you're their garment. That garment is so beautiful, is interdependency rather than complete merger of two identities into one. You create two different people coming together, you overlap some part, not all of it. You retain your own identity. You protect each other, you keep each other warm, you remain private and confidential, you beautify, and you're never perfect. Just like the garment. So that's the parting words I would like to tell you, that in our relationship, in our family home, in our environments, that we want to create, which is called the ideal home, it needs real reflection and real thinking. It needs you and I to re-examine our behavior when it comes to our family, when it comes to our relationship. Otherwise, you are setting yourself up for failure. And if you get children, you're also setting them for failure. It's a domino effect. Rescue ourselves from the potential for troubles in our lives by becoming more لِقَوْمِ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, people who can reflect and think. Reflect and think about relationship. Some people get into marriage not knowing this. Even if you've got married not knowing this, get to know this. And if you're not married yet, learn about it, inshallah. Alright, for today we're done. Jazakumullahu khairan for coming. Allah bless you all. And inshallah we hope and make dua that Allah accepts our humble efforts and He grants us the best of this world and the hereafter, forgives us for our mistakes and blesses us for our good intentions and our actions. Wa akhir ad-da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.